session. Okay. Phone in silence, man. Let's put the phone down for this. We gotta do that, man.
I was just looking at Uber Eats right now. My mind was somewhere else.
Your mind was somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, better be here for this one.
Yeah. We gotta keep it a little hungry. You know what I mean? So that I still have a hunger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The second you eat, you start to get lazy. So
Oh boy.
I want to be alert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. You know what we're going to be talking about today?
Something about growth and the mind and related to what 2023 New Year.
Yeah. Or anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little time right now. All right, well, introduce us, start us off.
Interesting. So welcome to the Balance Podcast
Yeah.
once again. And then today we're here with a mega hit, which is growth mindset.
Growth mindset. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Where are we with growth mindset? What is growth mindset like to you? I mean, personally to you.
I mean, for me, the growth mindset is the mindset behind a winning strategy,
Okay.
something like that. What about you? What comes to mind when you think about a growth mindset?
I see work.
Mm.
I see dedication. I see knowledge. I see experience. Like we gotta gain experience. We gotta build ourselves. But it's the self I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mind.
And I mean, like, if you take a look at the set, you know what I'm saying? I think we're kind of growing a little bit. You know what I mean? We just, we're trying a little something new with the, how we're positioned, new microphones, trying to, grow in this space right here. And I guess there's a growth mindset behind that as well. If we want to tie it all in together.
When I was a boy, I didn't think I had a mind. I don't remember having a mind.
Hmm.
Do you remember anything?
I don't know when I made that separation between like mind, body, spirit. I don't know. Like, I feel like it has to be it. I feel like that's something that you learn. So, like, what was it like before learning of a separation? Is there even a separation?
That's a very good question.
Is there even a separation, or is a separation like borderlines that we draw within different aspects of ourselves?
Wow. Is that a question for me or for the?
Well,
for the
since
world?
you're the only one who can really keep the conversation going, it's
I'm
gonna
sure
be a
they can
question
too
for you.
because they're watching.
No, for sure.
Right?
Hit us in the comments.
Uh-huh.
What do you call it? Are we one or are we three?
Some people think they're 4. Some people think they're 5.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different like identities, you know what I'm saying, that are being declared, nowadays. So I would imagine that there's they say it's fluid,
Yeah, I think there's a separation somewhere because sometimes, but the true self is still there. The real us that was there before any conditioning, any
Right.
programming, is still in the background.
That person who we was
Mm-hmm.
before we were conscious of our
mind.
selves, of
Correct.
our mind, right?
Correct. So that person is still there. That's the us that we try to find sometimes when we kind of find ourselves.
Right. So is that like
when you feel lost in the world somehow?
Is that like your inner child?
Correct. That innocent you, that
the uncorrupted, unblemished
self,
unstained, innocent self. I think is that tied to the idea of inherent goodness, like being born just pure good? And
I'll say yes.
Yeah.
I'll say yes. But us as well, I know we are spirits. So spirits means, for me, spirits, I don't divide it into many spirits. It's one spirit.
Right.
But but there are many entities. There are many branches.
Right. It's like maybe can you
Mhm.
say that it's expressed in different ways?
Correct.
The one spirit being
Mhm.
expressed in
Correct.
different ways.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the mind is an extension
Mm, of the spirit.
of the spirit.
Right.
So
I can dig that. Yeah. I like
so
that.
so to have the mind, right? Not even to be conscious of the mind. So to
Mm,
have the mind, you gotta have to go through something. You gotta learn something. So the
right.
mind pretty much is when we were born, it's well, that, based on my experience,
Right.
there was nothing there.
Well, technically, I wouldn't say nothing. You know, a lot of people believe that babies are
Mm.
born knowing nothing. And
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I mean by there's nothing there. There was nothing there. So that nothing, that we don't remember anything because there's nothing there to remember yet.
but for a baby,
Mm-hmm.
the argument that I heard,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm inclined to, take that,
Mm-hmm.
is that no, they do know like sense.
Mm-hmm.
They know the rhythm of the mother's heartbeat.
Correct.
That's the heartbeat of the mother is right next to her breast,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a natural evolutionary process
Mm-hmm.
built in
Correct.
to the human mammal
Yes.
that guides the newborn child to where the milk is at. So like in a sense, there's already like an encoded set of instructions
Mm-hmm.
that a child grows up with, you know what I'm saying, or is born with.
Mm-hmm.
And like just the same way that you can't control, like you don't know how you control your breathing, you don't really
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't control your breathing, you don't control your heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess saying that instinct to come out and look for the milk, you don't control that either. So I don't know if it's a thing that
Mm-hmm.
or just how you're built to respond.
It makes total sense.
Mm.
I can testify.
Please do. Please do.
So
I
the
like
body
this,
has
bro.
memories.
Right.
It's not just the mind, it's not just the brain.
Mm.
So the entire body, the cells, everything,
Yes.
they're all energy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about mindset. We're talking about growth
Mm-hmm.
mindset. So
Right.
for example, for the baby to learn how to walk,
Right.
there's a learning process there.
Right. Yeah, and it has to be active.
Mhm.
Like it's an active
Mhm.
learning.
So what you're
process.
talking about is an instinct. It's an
Intrinsic.
internal.
Right. Internal. It's already there.
There's nothing we can do about it.
So and is that's different from a growth mindset,
Correct.
which is conscious of its own
Mm-hmm.
development.
Correct.
Mm.
So this baby, let's say, for most humans, well,
Right.
I kind of notice.
Maybe not for you.
I kind of noticed that.
Right.
For most women, the growth mindset begins, after you hit your mid 20s. That's when you want to change yourself. You want to change
Well,
your mindset.
that's when you're like fully matured,
Mhm.
according to some science. They say that your brain fully matures at 25.
A mature brain. That's interesting.
Mm.
So, what explain that? I mean,
Well,
what?
for example, right?
Mm.
When they decriminalized marijuana,
Mm.
and even legalized it, there were some scientists and doctors who were concerned that because it's now legal and can be sold at shops,
Mm.
that a lot more people would get into smoking, marijuana or, taking it in other ways. So they came up with a lot of warnings
Mm.
saying that even if you are an adult, technically, if you're 18, 19,
Mm.
marijuana is still dangerous for a developing brain because it doesn't fully mature until about 25. So they send warnings out to people under 25
Mm-hmm.
because it could affect, the brain that's still developing.
Well,
once you hit 25.
I think it kind of makes sense because
Right.
the brain is a very fragile organ.
Mm-hmm. Because you just said that the growth mindset doesn't start until about the mid-20s.
Well, that's based on my experience.
And
For some people,
and so yeah, that's what I wanted to connect it with what I
Mhm.
heard.
For some people, it might
Mhm.
be way before that.
Sure.
Because I met like 10-year-old kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're mature
Right.
and their growth mindset than people who are 40
Right.
up.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that. Yeah, that's always very fascinating.
But you know what I observed? When you talk to them, they went through hell, man.
And they can
Yeah.
articulate it. They can
Mhm.
really tell you.
Oh yeah, this is what I went through. My mother and my dad, my mother and my father, they died when I was 3. I've been on the streets, you know what I mean? So I had to
Mhm.
grow fast.
Yeah, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
People are forced to grow up quicker
Mm-hmm.
or under, extreme circumstances. Like, they're grown, but are they mature? I feel like maturity comes with experience
Mm-hmm.
and like a breadth of experience,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like over time.
Mm-hmm.
But for kids who have seen a lot in
Mm-hmm.
a short period of time, feel like you're going through a lot of things without having the time to develop,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, or process them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so you're just stacking unopened and unfinished,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure they were missing. They were missing
Right.
missing experiences.
Sure.
For example, if you take a 10-year-old and you compare it to the 80-year-old, come on,
Of course.
in
Of
terms of
course.
life experiences,
Mm-hmm.
job experiences, like
Mm-hmm.
career switches, yeah.
Right. But then, like, let's say a 10-year-old boy, you know, grew up in the, Syrian war,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, versus an 80-year-old guy who has had a pretty easy and a life full of luxuries. Their experiences might actually like
Privilege.
way the same. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like,
It might be different. Oh yeah, absolutely. So,
you feel me?
mm-hmm. so so speaking of growth mindset, certain things that I had to do myself.
Right.
So in order for me to grow beyond what
Okay.
beyond what I was
Right.
to say,
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the path.
Okay.
I had to study.
Mm-hmm.
I had to read a
And
lot of
where did you
books.
start?
Oh yeah, I had to start with books.
Mm,
I started with going to workshops and seminars,
nice.
and then I hired coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those.
So you took like active steps
Mhm.
into, expanding your mind
Correct.
and your horizon, because like once you read books, like even just physically, like, your brain grows when you learn new things,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Your brain grows, or the mind grows.
See, now we have to find out if there's a separation between the brain and the mind,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes,
The
there
brain is
is.
the organ, but the mind is like the spirit of the brain.
Of the brain.
You feel me?
So the mind is where you collect all your stuff. Like you know how you have your subconscious mind.
right?
You have your conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier when we were talking about the baby,
Right.
so the baby has a conscious mind, which is responsible for like moving your hands and stuff.
Right.
You know.
Like when it starts.
Mm-hmm. So the subconscious mind is when you begin to like condition the mind in a certain way. So
I imagine it would be a crazy experience,
Mm.
to be aware. Like, imagine we went back in our own childhoods at the moment that we discovered our mind
Mm-hmm.
and how it can feel separate from, like, the voice in my head, for example. Like, imagine, growing up as a kid and you think you're all one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to become aware of the certain separations.
Some kids are able to do that.
So imagine going back to your own.
You can do that.
Right.
I did it.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, I mean you have to go back if you wanna like clean yourself, you wanna heal yourself, you wanna
Right.
like
You have to start
empty
from
yourself. Oh yeah,
back.
oh yeah, you gotta meditate, you gotta travel
Right. It's
back.
not like a band-aid solution.
But
like
it's
you
hard.
have to
It's
go
painful.
to the root of
it's
the.
painful though.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for all that. You know what I mean?
Because you're gonna be facing things that
right, that you've put away for a long time.
like the fear, the anger,
Mm-hmm.
the jealousy.
And what did you come out
As
after doing that? Yeah, what did you come out as?
well, I found the child,
Mm.
that inner child you spoke about earlier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man, I cried like a baby.
Damn.
I think I spent like 3 days crying.
That's.
Yeah, non-stop. I'm talking about 3 days. You know what I was crying of?
Mm.
Tears of joy.
That sounds like a transformative experience.
What do you mean transformative? What is transformative for you?
Well, I feel like going into that process, you didn't come out the same person you were going in. I feel like some sort of transformation
You know-
occurred.
You know of something. Speaking of growth mindset, some people their mind have been programmed by other people,
Sure.
or by a cult, or by a society, or
An
something.
environment, or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that is part of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
You
And I
know,
feel like part of like all the things that you have to unlearn or kind of retrace your steps.
deprogram yourself.
Sure.
This is what I call it. And also, like your mind it creates emotions. It's not just
Mm,
the mind, because there's a lot of
right. A
work
lot of a
that
lot of connection between, you know what I'm
between the
saying, the
mind
heart.
and the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So because your mind's, based on my experience, your mind is responsible for your emotions. So you cannot have an emotion
Mm-hmm.
without having to think a thought first.
Right. What's acting like as an obstacle, you know what I'm saying, of achieving that growth mentality?
Well, to be complaining, first of all, you have to have a low. I would say self-esteem.
Hmm.
Maybe you lack confidence within yourself.
Right.
You know, where like you're afraid of taking action,
Mm.
or you're afraid of the unknown. Because to grow, you gotta go places. You gotta
That you haven't been.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, when I was traveling, like I went to Costa Rica,
Nice.
and man, it was a beautiful experience, right?
Wow.
However, I ended up, I almost died in Costa Rica.
Goodness. What happened?
I rented this place, right? And I was staying there. I stayed there for like a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I ran out of water, clean water. I usually buy my
Wow.
water in this
Right, right,
in
right.
you know, like not spring water. Let's say I usually
Mm-hmm.
buy my water in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
I ran out of water, so I ended up drinking the tub water.
Oh, wow. You're brave.
Listen, I got this pain in my stomach. It is as if a chalk had hit me.
Oh, like a shot.
A chalk, an
Oh,
actual
like an
chalk.
electrical shock.
No, you
Hmm.
see the big chalks. Toot, toot.
Oh, like a truck.
A chalk. It is as if a chalk
Goodness.
had hit me in my stomach.
Oh,
That's how
wow.
painful it was.
And like how much of that water would you say you drank? Was it like,
Just one cup.
oh, one cup did that?
Yep. So I ended up going to the
Jeez.
hospital. So and then it get worse.
Oh no.
I was in what's the capital? San Jose.
San Jose?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I ended up going to one of the hospitals there. Okay, so I went. Let's say I ended up there like I went at 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
2 a.m. I'm still there.
Goodness.
Uh, The morning comes. The morning comes. I'm still there. They were not even looking at me.
Oh wow. So that was basically like 18 hours without being seen.
I saw people going back and forth.
And it's like actively still
Oh yeah, I'm on
hurting.
the floor, man. I'm rolling on the floor like a baby. You know.
And like, you know, 18 hours already sounds like a lot of time, but going through all that pain for 18 hours, it probably felt like 3 days.
And I figured out why.
Hmm.
Because I was not Costa Rican.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I knew because I'm not. We're not
Right,
stupid,
right,
you know.
right. Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's just get to the back of the line.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a line even.
There was no line. Like, everybody just the doctors
Goodness.
they changed shift.
Oh wow.
You know what was wrong with the water? There were bugs in it.
Yeah, I think that was a good way to close this down, you know?
Yeah.
End this off. You wanna walk us out of here?
Absolutely. So grow your mindsets. Change your mindset, you know, shift your mindset.
Mm.
Criticism. Get the criticism.
Be open to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And do something different.
correct.
Feel me?
So
Nice.
later.
That has been the Balanced Podcast another week. You feel me? Good stuff.